Now, I know it ain't just me, man. I know I can't be the only one to take notice to the fact that women are freakier than ever. It's never been a time where there have been more freaky women available than there is now. So why is it? Why are women so freaky nowadays? And is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Let's talk about it. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
Bitch, you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but want a winner's reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored. Okay. I'm so sick of these.
Yeah, man, the freakiness is at an all-time high. Man, I tell you, it's more chicks giving up box within the first 24 hours of meeting somebody than it ever been. It's more one-night stands going on with chicks than it's ever been. It's more chicks getting in the game one way or another, selling box, than it's ever been. And chicks be so freaky, man. This is another thing I ain't never seen so much of. I mean, it's always been a thing, but I've never seen it so prevalent like it is now. And that's chicks just, getting active with anybody and everybody, especially other chicks. Like chicks being freaky with chicks, that's at an all-time high. So the freakiness is just, on volume 10 right now. And why is that? Well, Pimp got a few ideas and theories as to why it is, right? First, we live in a time now where so many different kinds of messages are just pushed in front of you constantly. From the moment you wake up, the moment you open your laptop, the moment you open your phone, the moment you step outside, if you catch public transportation, you walk into a fast food restaurant, you go to a gas station pump, it's TVs everywhere, there's a million messages everywhere, right? And on social media especially, there's a million messages, a gazillion fulfilling messages being pushed in your face as well. And a lot of it is, freaky in nature. And, this is one way that a lot of ladies draw attention to themselves. And it's not always, women in the game. It's not always chicks that's like, in the industry, so to speak, right? A lot of times it's just, all different kinds of women. It could be, chicks in the religious world, various different kind of industries. It could be, I've seen chicks that live on a farm and work on a farm, just all different kinds of females, every different kind of walk of life you can think of, man. Everybody is sexualizing themselves some type of way because they understand that it gets so much attention. So this is something that chicks figure out early on, right? A lot of chicks figure out early on as soon as they get familiar with the internet as teenagers. They figure this out that, if I utilize my body a certain type of way, it's gonna garner me a lot of attention. It's gonna be a way for me to, get the things that I want out of life, right? This is something that a lot of chicks figure out early on, and it's also a way to promote whatever it is that they're doing, or create certain opportunities. Chicks just figure this out early in the game, right? So within that, it's a certain spirit, right? If you willing to shake your ass without talking or revealing anything about your character, your personality, or your intellect, or anything like that, you just shaking your ass and you ain't saying much with your mouth, you saying everything with your ass, then you're gonna get certain kind of attention. And within that attention that you getting, it's gonna be a lot of propositions made, and a lot of chicks be easily satisfied. So you know, they start exploring, they start experimenting, and this is what brings the freak out. This is how it starts, right? And you know, it's a combination of that and the sensationalism, right? Because it makes you feel good whenever you get those notifications. And when you get those notifications for being freaky, you know, shaking your ass or twerking or, you know, showing different parts of your body or, you know, doing things with your mouth in a freaky type of way, you know, just being freaky on the internet one way or another, right? When you get attention for that, you get notifications for that, it makes you feel good. It's a hit of dopamine, right? So it's sensational. And this is what brings out the spirit of sensationalism with a lot of chicks, right? So, you know, they get into a nature of just wanting to feel good. Feeling good is top priority, right? So they do anything, everything to feel good. This is why they start experimenting with all different types of substances and, you know, getting high off of all these different substances to feel good. A lot of times when you off these different substances, you want to get freaky at the same time. So this is, in a nutshell, why, you know, where the freakiness comes from. This is why so many chicks nowadays are just freaky, right? Because, again, they figure out early in the game that they can get on social media and get a lot of attention just by being freaky. And then not only that, but it's going to create certain opportunities. It's going to open up different kinds of doors for them. So they figure that out, right? And they, like I said, they utilize it to promote themselves or, you know, get in where they fit in, what have you, right? So for a lot of young chicks, this is where it starts. Then when it comes to getting money, or, you know, not even necessarily getting money, just getting what they want, right? Because a lot of times it's not about money for a lot of chicks. It's about getting what they want. And a lot of times what they want ain't much, right? And if getting what they want has to do with them having money to get what they want, then, you know, they cool with getting money. But ultimately, if they get what they want, they don't really care so much about money, right? Like if they want to get freaky, a lot of times the money don't have to be involved, right? If they want to get high, a lot of times the money don't have to be involved, and they'll get freaky to get high with no money involved, right? So, but whatever the case, right? Whatever their intentions are, whatever their objectives are, you know, this freakiness has, you know, chicks doing a lot of different things, right? Now, if you have campaigned in places like Miami and Vegas, you know what I'm talking about. But let's just take Miami, for example, right? Hey man, it's so many chicks today that are going to fly to Miami, just like they do every day, with a one-way ticket, right? Now, you know, those of us in the game, you know, pimping and 304, we catch one-way tickets all the time because we might go somewhere, you know, to do our thing, and we don't know how long we gonna be there. We don't know how well it's gonna go. So a lot of times, because we don't know what the outcome is gonna be when we fly somewhere, you know, people in the game, we catch one-way tickets all the time, right? Or, you know, people who don't have a conventional 9-to-5, or, you know, aren't students at a school. Well, I take that back, because a lot of chicks that's students. Let me correct myself. There's a lot of chicks that's students at universities that still catch one-way tickets to places like Miami, right? But this is happening every day though. And, you know, if you're not in the game, if you come from a background of maybe you was a student, or, you know, you had a regular 9-to-5, you was working at Waffle House, you was working at Wendy's, or what have you, right? Why would somebody like that book a one-way ticket to a place like Miami? right? Well, it's various different reasons, right? A lot of chicks go, again, they're gonna go today. It's happening every day. So today it's gonna be some chicks that's gonna fly to Miami with a one-way ticket on a hope and a prayer, hoping and praying that they figure something out once they touch down, once they get there, right? A lot of chicks catch one-way tickets because they got a home girl that's already there and she working in the club getting money, and she popping on social media and all these different things, and she might even be doing OnlyFans or whatever the case may be, and her girl is like, yeah, you know, come down and I'll put you on, I'll get you hired at the club, or, you know, I'll show you how to get your content popping, or, you know, various different things, right? But you got chicks that don't even have that much waiting for them when they get there. A lot of chicks just fly out there with a one-way ticket on a hope and a prayer because of something that they seen on social media or something that they heard about somebody doing out there. But they might not even know anybody out there, you know, to get plugged in with. They just going because they hoping they can figure it out, right? And a lot of times, you know, different gentlemen come across these chicks and they end up getting with these gentlemen and staying with these gentlemen, right? A lot of times it's a trick. You know, a trick might come across one of these one-way ticket chicks in Miami, and next thing you know, she got this dude taking her on shopping sprees, and, you know, she living with him or staying with him while he's staying there. He might be visiting too, right? And you know, she might get taken care of, or, you know, and then before you know it, it becomes a thing where she figures out, hey, you know, I can do this all day long. I'm in Miami. It's a whole bunch of guys like him down here. Let me find another one. Before you know it, they trick hopping. Not necessarily 304ing, but trick hopping just to stay afloat, right? And then, you know, it don't always work out for chicks, like, you know, in that type of way, which that ain't nothing to say it really worked out. But, you know, some chicks end up worse than that. You got chicks that go down there and end up in a homeless shelter. You got chicks that go down there and end up sleeping on the beach. You got chicks that go down there and end up couch surfing. You know, they on the couch surfing app looking for different couches to sleep on, you know, every other night. So, you know, and then they end up in undesirable situations too. They end up in situations with, you know, people this, you know, undesirable, right? People that mean them no good. They end up in situations like this. But what I want you to understand is the root of these decisions that lead to these types of situations is the freakiness, right? The fact that chicks are just, you know, they're not using their brain. They're not using game. They're not using wisdom. They don't care for guidance. They just jumping out there because they're willing to get freaky in order to get the things that they want, right? So they'll go to Miami again on a hope and a prayer, willing to get freaky to figure their way around and, you know, figure something out and get some type of stability at least, or, you know, stay afloat, right? And then just like the trick might come across these types of ladies, the pimping might come across these types of ladies too, right? There's so many chicks that flew to Miami and again on a one-way ticket on a hope and a prayer and ended up with some pimping, right? And, you know, some actual pimping, not no Trisnaffica or no shit like that. I'm talking about some pimping that lets her know fully what it is. Like, hey, this is what I'm on. You know, this is what I do. I got ladies already down, or if they don't have ladies, you know, this is what I'm about. And, you know, it's not any trickery with it. It's not any coercion with it. You got chicks that have this presented to them and they gladly oblige. They gladly get down, right? But then you do also have those types of dudes with the trickery as well. You got the dudes that, you know, consider themselves pimps, but they come in with the smoke and mirrors. They come in with the trickery, right? The manipulation. Like, yeah, you know, I'm a club promoter, or, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I do real estate, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And yeah, you know, I got, you know, places around here. You know, you can come over here with me over here. You know, I got somewhere for you to stay, and da 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 da. And chicks be so naive in those kind of situations, right? Where they being deceived. They be so naive and don't even understand that there's no such thing as something for nothing. And they be thinking that guys want to do something for them just because they cute, or just because they a damsel in distress, you know, and some guys just can't help themselves with a damsel in distress and they gonna look out. Nah, there's always an ulterior motive, you know, in them type of situations where a person ain't being forthright with you, person ain't being, you know, candid with you, right? They got something up their sleeve. You know, them types of situations get presented to chicks all the time too. But again, it's the freakiness, right? And as I say all the time, when you stand for less, you fall for more. And when you stand for less game, less information, less wisdom, less guidance, when you stand for less of that, you're gonna fall for, you know, all type of manipulation tactics, all types of you know, traps, obstacle courses and shit like that you ain't gonna be able to make it through, right? So yeah, man, but the freakiness is what leads to situations like that, right? And then, you know, when we talking about the game, this is why so many chicks that ain't necessarily 304s, but trying to do what 304s do and get the benefits that 304s benefit from, right? But a lot of people don't understand that just because you a good sleaze nut doesn't mean you're gonna be a good 304, right? And you have the game flooded now with a lot of good sleaze nuts that don't make good 304s. The game is flooded with them right now. If you ride on a blade in whatever city you in that has a blade in it, and you see a whole bunch of girls down on the corner, you know, half naked, you know, waving at cars just passing by and shit like that, the majority of them are just good sleaze nuts, but they not good 304s, right? They just freaky and willing to set that thing out there because they so freaky. And, you know, they trying to reap the benefits of a 304, but it's the freakiness that gets them out there. It's not the desire to be a good 304 and play the game accordingly, learn the game and then play the game accordingly that gets them out there. No, it's not, you know, wanting to be down with the right pimping, you know, choosing accordingly and wanting to be down and be good to him and shine with him and see him come up and, you know, really have something to show for your 304. Nah, it ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It's just the freakiness that gets them out there, right? So, you know, this is how a lot of P's get wrapped up in, you know, undesirable situations with young ladies, because you knocked this chick thinking that she was down to be a good 304, ready to be a good 304, you know, desiring, having that fire and desire to be a good 304. But nah, man, she just freaky. She just freaky and she don't want to be at her mama's house or her grandmama's house, right? Or she might, you know, she might have reached the age where she can't be in foster care no more. And, you know, she ain't figured out nothing else to do with her life. So, you know, she said, hey, let me try my hand at the game. But it's not because she wants to be really down and about the game that's getting her out there. It's her freakiness and willing to do anything and everything, all things freaky, to, you know, figure her way out through, you know, her freakiness is her key to get in where she fit in. And, you know, her freakiness is her key to figure out how she gonna eat today. You know, her freakiness is her key to figure out how she gonna have some shelter today. But, you know, there's nothing beyond the freakiness that's getting her down, right? So if you some pimping and you trying to mash on somebody like that, it's not gonna work, because she don't want to get mashed on. A real 304 want to get mashed on. A good 304 appreciates the mashing, right? She appreciates the pressure that's getting put on her by the pimping in the game, because she understands that, you know, pressure make diamonds, but pressure also make busted pipes. And it's going to be a whole lot of busted pipes out there, right? Because again, the freakiness, women are just so freaky nowadays that they just willing to, you know, do whatever in the name of freakiness, right? So, and then also within this, right? It's crazy because this what happens with a lot of pimps too. You want to pimp, so you know you might come up on a fresh chick and you thinking that she wants your pimping, and she do want some pee from you, but the pee that she want from you don't stand for pimping. You know what I mean? She wants some pipe, and she'll play the role. This is what her freakiness will lead her to do now. She'll play the role of a 304, go through all the flaming hoops and all the quicksand and every, you know, challenge that she got to go through just to get to the bedroom with you, right? So if that means that she got to get out there and act like a 304 and get whatever amount of money that, you know, you say she got to get, or at least act like she trying to, or whatever the case, just to get in the bedroom with you, if that's what that means, then she gonna do that, right? But, you know, it's gonna eventually present a problem, because if you the type that's able to figure that out, if you the type that's able to figure out, okay, you know, I really came to pimp, but she really came to be freaky, and she really don't want to be a 304, but I'm gonna still see how I could pimp through this situation. You know, if you that type, then you'll be able to figure it out early on, because as soon as she can't get in the bedroom with you right away when she want to, then, you know, things is gonna start falling apart, right? And you'll be so glad, you know, to yourself as the pimping, right? You'll be glad that you kept it in your pants, because you could just imagine all the chaos that would have ensued if you would have gotten a bedroom with her, right? And you have those types of cats, and then you have the type that can figure it out before it even goes anywhere, right? Because you know how to interview a chick the right way, you know how to ask the right questions and determine, okay, you know, this chick don't really want to be down. She just want to, you know, I keep talking about game, I keep talking about coming up, and she keep talking about freaky shit, or she keep talking about, you know, the ecstasy pills. You know, where's the perks at, and all this type of stuff, you know what I mean? And, you know, ooh, you so handsome, and you know, all this type of stuff, like, ooh, you got a nice body, or you so, man, I just can't get over how handsome you are. And, you know, she checking you out in that type of way. She not trying to check your pimping out, right? And you got cats that have the wisdom and the experience to separate game from lame in a situation like that, and then just, you know, decline a chick like that as a result. Like, you know what, this ain't what I'm looking for, this ain't what I want, so I'm gonna just, you know, I'm gonna let this chick down easy and go on by my business, right? But then you have situations with, you know, pimps that might not be so wise, might not have the discernment to separate game from lame in a situation like that. So they see this gorgeous chick that, you know, says she want to be down with them. So they're like, cool, I just came up, you know what I mean? But they, you know, they find out the hard way, right? They get the chick, and then, you know, she immediately pressing them for the pipe, and then he gives in and gives her the pipe too early in the game, before she's even proven herself, before she's even done anything to show herself worthy of getting the pipe. You know, she gets it right away, and then, you know, from there, all kind of issues start happening. She start getting jealous. She want to fight her wifeys, or she want to just be messy with her wifeys and start shit with them, right? Because she wants you all to herself, because that's all she came for really, is the pipe. She didn't come to be a good 304. She came to be freaky, right? So you got to be careful with them types of situations, man. And even as a square, you got to be careful, right? I mean, it depends on what your intentions are, right? If you just on some, like, you know, and that might be the good thing about chicks being so freaky nowadays, man. If you're the type as a square to just want to have fun, hey, it's never been a time like now to just have fun with chicks, because they so with it, you know. I remember pre-social media, it used to be a thing where, you know, it was more common for a chick to not be so quick to jump in bed with you, right? It used to be a thing where it required more work, more effort for a guy to get a chick in bed. You've always had your sleaze nuts. You've always had the type that's, you know, ready and willing right away to jump into bed with you. But it was more of a thing where, you know, you had a good amount of women that, you know, they wanted to see if a guy really liked them for them, more than just the physical aspect, more than just, you know, the instant gratification, right? A chick wanted to take time to see if, you know, you really liked her, or if you really took an interest in her, right? Or if you really cared about her. Nowadays, chicks don't care nothing about that. They damn near more aggressive than the guys, or at least as aggressive for sure. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to toot my own horn or nothing like that, but man, shit, I deal with aggressive females all the time, man. I'm talking about, man. Sometimes people got to fight just to make it home, you know what I mean? You know, they be trying to kidnap me and force me and intimidate me and coerce me, you know, into the bedroom, man. I'm talking about, I'm laughing, but I'm serious. It's a real thing, man. It really goes on, man. Like, there's never been a time where chicks were this aggressive just because they so freaky, right? So again, as a square guy, if you the type that, you know, you just want to have fun, man, that's all over the place. It's everywhere, right? The days of, you know, a chick, like I just described, you know, making you wait because she want to take time to get to know you and, you know, see if y'all can, you know, develop some type of bond with each other. Them days is just about extinct. You know, that's a rare find nowadays. I'm sure there's still women out there like that, but they far and few between. So, but shout out to the ladies that are like that, though. Shout out to the ladies that ain't just so freaky, right? And see, this is another thing too, like about 304s that a lot of people don't understand. Hey, man, some of the best 304s ain't really that freaky, you know? And they definitely ain't enjoying themselves with tricks. A good 304, she's not, you know, getting with a trick for the sake of pleasure. But it's a lot of chicks out here, you know, they got a type. They got a type of trick, a physical type, a physical attraction type, right? And, you know, some tricks, if they physically attracted to, then, you know, cool. And they go have fun with them and get a little bit of money in the process, and it's cool. But then, you know, you on the flip side of that coin, if it's a trick that ain't really their physical attraction type, then, you know, they less inclined to break on them. And this might be the best breaking of your night or of your week or your month or whatever, right? The one that you ain't really attracted to like that. But, you know, these chicks are so freaky that, you know, that they'll let that be the determining factor as opposed to the money, right? So, yeah, they be having, and then you got some chicks that it don't even have to be a physical attraction. They just like getting freaky with any and everybody. They're gonna get freaky with every guy. They're gonna get freaky with every girl. They just, whoever they can get freaky with, they with it. You know, some people's drive is just through the roof. You know, some of these young chicks, they drive is just out of this galaxy, out of this universe, right? And they just always aroused and always ready to go right now. You know what I mean? They just wait for you to give them the green light because they ready to go right now. But yeah, man, you know, I could go on and on about how frizznicky the chicks are nowadays, but as you can see, we just broke down some pros of it, some cons of it. But you know, and people would think that because I'm in, you know, I am what I am and I represent what I represent, that I would just be cool with chicks being so freaky. But you know, I like building with a woman. It's gonna take more than a woman's freakiness and willingness to get freaky for some money, or freaky with me, or just freaky in whatever situation presents itself to her. It's gonna take more than that for me to be, you know, interested or, you know, excited to deal with a woman, right? It's gonna take more than just her freakiness to, you know, to get me going, because that don't mean nothing. Just because you are ready and willing to get freaky, that don't mean that you know, you really trying to come up, you know, because I'm not playing around. I'm not, you know, just doing this just to be doing this. Like, you know, it got to make sense, and freakiness alone ain't gonna make it make sense, right? So you know, in the near future, I'm gonna do a video going into more detail about that, right? But for now, let that marinate on your mind one time. Freeze is it. Go ahead and put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out. Dig this.
Yeah.
I been stroking relentless to get waves like this. I spoke into existence for her to pay like this. In the trenches on a day like this, traffic consistentness, so I have to insist that she relay my chips. It's a trap with her name on it and my game on it. Any forces coming against this game, shame on it. Standing on my pimping from day one and remain on it. It carried me through every terrain and I gained on it. Experience joy and pain on it, sustained on it.
But getting back to this game that I never left.